The following episode was recorded in front of a live streaming audience on Sunday, May the 17th, 2026.
You know who you are? Steeven is my name. Even Steeven.
Will you say something, Steeven?
Steeven or Else Media.
You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode number 98, Peril on Pogo Island. Hello and welcome to the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Steeven, and 1,000 miles over there to my right is another host. His name is Ed Moore. Ed, how you doing?
Pretty good, sir. Pretty good. Before we officially started recording, we bantered quite a bit. Do you still want to banter, or do you just want to move on?
I have with me.
You have some banter notes. Okay.
Recently, one of the things that I enjoy to do is making lists, and in retrospect to podcasts, I list out. I make a list of all upcoming episodes up to a certain point. I don't go too far, but like I've listed out the next 10, 15 episodes that we'll need to record for the Superman Super Show.
Okay.
And as I'm doing that, I'm getting the titles to each of the stories that we're going to be talking about.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind when I'm talking about titles to these Superman stories, I get them out of those collections that we're reading from, Superman in the Golden Age. And many of those, you'll see the title and it has a little asterisk next to it. And then you look up the asterisk and it's just telling you that it wasn't originally titled. So these are titles that they came up with when they put the collection together. Anyway, I made a list of 8 titles. I didn't list which issues they're coming from, but I thought these sounded really interesting.
Okay.
And I thought I'd share them with you. The next one we're actually going to do is called The Suicide Murders. And when we get to the bit at the end where I do the next time on the Superman Super Show and I read a little tease, I've been taking those teases from that first panel from each story. And in that one, it refers to the bad guy that he's going to be going up against in this next story as a super criminal. Haven't had that yet.
Nope.
Another one we're going to be doing at some point is called The Beasts of Luthor. So Luthor's definitely coming back soon. City in the Stratosphere.
Okay.
The Archer. Could that be a Green Arrow crossover? Probably not. I don't think they really did a lot of
I guess it
crossovers
could
back
be.
then. Yeah. Baby on the Doorstep is one that's coming up.
Okay.
The City Beneath the Earth.
As opposed to the City in the Stratosphere.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. And those stories are separated by a number, so they're not like back to back, which would have been interesting.
Kind of brings to mind the old adage, as above, so below, or as
something
below,
like
so
that,
above, something like that, whichever way it goes. Yeah.
Superman's Ark.
ARK?
Like ARK, as in Noah's
Like a
Ark.
boat? The big boat? Okay.
And then my favorite one, The Caveman Criminal.
Okay.
Hey-oh! There, I just did a David Letterman.
Yeah, Letterman. Yep. who probably couldn't do that nowadays. I'm sure somebody would take offense and they would complain to his company. And yeah.
Did you see that they had Letterman on Colbert and they were throwing stuff off the roof? That's great. I love that.
Yeah, I would like to see that all of the late night hosts that have been getting grief lately band together and do their own show somehow. If it's not video, it's audio. Just take it unto themselves and do it, and just say screw the man. Just
during this last writers' strike, all of them, Colbert, Fallon, Kimmel, John Oliver, Seth Meyers, they all did a podcast called it's like something Force 5. I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah, okay. Probably mocking that stupid Fox Network show.
Yeah. So, but they did it, and all the money they made went to pay their staffs, from all the shows.
Okay.
So
sure.
That was kind of neat. All right. Ready to get into this issue?
Let's do it.
Today we're looking at the first of 4 tales that appeared in Superman number 12. This issue sports a cover date of September/October 1941, though it hit the stands in July. It sold for just 10 cents, and the story is entitled Peril on Pogo Island. It was written by Jerry Siegel with art by Leo Nowak. Lois and Clark take a cruise aboard the Grenadier. While on board, Clark sees a woman fall overboard, so he dives after her, making the rescue. The woman is Nan Wilson, owner of Pogo Island. Clark and Lois are then invited to the island as guests. On the island, Nan is attacked by the natives who believe she is a witch. The natives are provoked by a witch doctor, really Nan's plantation foreman in disguise. He wants to keep people away because he is using the island as a submarine base for a foreign nation. Superman protects Nan, exposing the foreman's plot, and turns him over to the authorities. Ed, what did you think?
I thought, honestly, that the story had a very different feel from what they have felt like lately. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it was the setting more than anything else. I mean, pretty much forever, we have been set in urban environments, buildings and cars and all that. This one, I guess, maybe taking place on both an ocean liner and a tropical island, with natives included, who weren't, I didn't think, badly represented. So
no, they weren't. I was really worried about that, of course, at first, but I think if anybody is badly represented in this issue, it's the white people who own the island and are using the natives as servants.
Laborers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just, I mean, overall, and again, I couldn't tell you exactly why it felt different to me, but just reading it just seemed to have a different feel. And when I went back to check, I was kind of surprised that it was the same writer that we've had since the beginning. So I don't know. Maybe he got a certain bug about the time he sat down to write this one, and just something came out different or something. I don't know. It just felt different, and I enjoyed the way it felt. It wasn't bad. So yeah, it was different, and I enjoyed it.
It at the time there were, of course, a lot of B movie serials and whatnot. These jungle adventures, and so
deepest, darkest Africa, and all that kind of mysterious jungle stuff. So
maybe he had just gone to a matinee, and he's like, I should do a Superman jungle adventure.
Could be, which is kind of funny to think that it could be something that simple that prompted him to write this particular story at, whatever time. Who knows when he sat down to write this? This could be one that he had tucked away for a while and then pulled it out, or, but it's interesting to think that something could have happened, this week to them physically, that next week when he sat down to write it, caused how he wrote that story next week. That, I don't I don't necessarily get that feeling out of contemporary comics. It doesn't strike me that is what is going on. These guys plot far too far in advance and everything. So that seat of the pants kind of thing doesn't really seem like it could happen too much nowadays.
Yeah, Stephen King, I read his book On Writing, which is what it's called, On Writing. Mm-hmm. And cat hair all over my mic. Mm-hmm. He talks about how, when he had started writing, there were periods of time where he'd write a book and he'd print it out and he'd stick it in the safety deposit box. He'd write another book, print it out, stick it in the safety deposit box. And so he had like 10 books, in the background, just waiting in case he needed one.
Right. He'd pull it out and send it in to be edited and whatever. And well, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty creative kind of person. It seems.
You ever hear him talk about, anybody asks him, where do you get the idea for this and that and this? He's like, I don't know. And it's like the only time I really heard him talk about something like that was I don't know if you ever read Desperation, which he wrote under the name Richard Bachman.
I apologise most sincerely for breaking into the show, folks, but it's me, Alice, and I need to correct a little something that Steven just said. The book he mentioned, Desperation, was written by Stephen King, but not under the name Richard Bachman. Instead, he used his own nom de plume, which means he used his own name. However, per Wikipedia, Desperation was published in 1996 at the same time as its mirror novel, The Regulators, itself published under King's Richard Bachman pseudonym. And with all that said, back to the show.
Is that the one with the dude that the woman breaks his legs and keeps him captive? That's not that one.
No. That's
Misery is the name
Misery,
of that one.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, Desperation is like it's been forever since I read it, but it has to do with somebody driving into a small town on their way across the country, and weird shit happens. And he was literally driving his daughter's car across country to her to college because she needed her car at college. And he drove through this small town and he just started going, and boom, a story comes out of it.
That's all it takes. Yep. Yeah, I do stuff like that and I get flashes in my imagination, but I never get anything that I could remotely put into a TV show or a novel or even a novelette or a novella or whatever.
Well, and the way he writes, he calls it writing by the seat of your pants. He'll come up with an idea and he'll just start writing.
Right.
And he's always said he doesn't know how it's going to end until he gets there. And there was a time that I would hear him say that and I'd go, that's crap. He knows how they all end. Why would you start a story without knowing how it ended? And then I started writing and I tried and I realized I'm a seat of the pants writer and I didn't, the very small number of stories I've written, I had no idea how they were going to end when I started.
Well, I've heard all kinds of writers talk about how the characters will dictate what happens. And I've always thought, well, that's kind of funny because the characters aren't real, but I understand what they're saying. So, yeah.
All right. You take us through this and give us all your deep insights.
Oh, yeah. Deep, I'm sure.
on this deep meta story with all the hidden meanings.
So on the cover, and I saw a reference that perhaps this is a Veterans Day cover, but even Veterans Day is November.
Right.
And not only was this cover dated and actually on the shelves well before a November date. So I'm not sure why the thought would be that this was a Veterans Day, perhaps homage.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
On the cover, you have three figures walking lockstep, arms intertwined at us. In the middle is Superman. On his right is a member of the Navy, U.S. Navy. And on the left is a member of the Army, from what I can tell, I believe. Yeah. And for those of you, immediately the thought that came to my mind is, well, aren't there four branches? Why are there not? Well, because at this point in our history, the Air Force was part of the Army and the Marine Corps was part of the Navy. So this is truly the only armed forces we had was Army Navy, which is why the football game is only between Army Navy. That's all it is.
Okay, didn't know that.
So, just and it's pretty clean. It's got those three figures. There's I guess to break up the backdrop, there's a large yellow circle that encompasses most of them, most of the territory that the three figures take up as far as on the cover. Superman across the top, the number, patent, DC. Now, for some reason, which I guess maybe it's some kind of art thing. There's the circles are all backgrounded in yellow with overprinting of whatever it is. The number of the book is a yellow circle. Billy says he loves this cover. It's a very clean cover. And then you've got the big yellow circle behind the three figures, but above the big circle to the right-hand side of the cover as you're looking at it, below the Superman logo is another yellow circle with nothing in it. It's just a yellow circle.
That's where the price would go. When they, for some reason, when they do...
Is that the price? Okay.
Yeah, when they reprint, sometimes they leave that blank. I don't know why.
Oh, because it'll date it.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. Price point, Billy. Okay. Yeah, that struck me. I'm like, unless they're just trying to break up, the big white patch right there, I'm like, why did you just leave it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be interested to know how they took out the price without messing up anything. Yeah. Anyways, okay. So the next page, I'm not sure if this is part of the compendium that I'm reading it from. Marvel does that with the digital books as well, Billy says.
Yep.
I've noticed that a lot of the digitals will have removed the UPC. I've noticed that as well. So I guess that for the same reason. I don't know.
The Titan Conan the Barbarian books, the digital versions, don't even have the issue numbers on the covers. It's weird.
That's kind of annoying.
Yeah, sometimes I have to expand just to figure out which book I need to read. On my Kindle, it's like if the entire title isn't there under it, it's a real pain in the butt sometimes. I don't understand
just drop the number so I know I read 12 and the next one I want to read is 13. But this page, I'm not sure if it's because of the compendium or if it was actually in the book. Not of course, but it'd be very difficult for me to have an actual copy of this book. I would love to, but yeah, they're kind of hard to come by. Well, and pricey, which is my problem. But it's a montage of Superman panels with the world's greatest adventure character in a narration kind of box. There's a picture of Superman in an oval in the middle, kind of throwing a punch. There we go. And 246 panels. I don't know that I necessarily remember seeing any of these in the stories, but I might have seen one or two, but not very many of these because they depict things that Superman hasn't really gotten into in his stories. So I don't know where they're from. I would not think that they made them just for this page. That doesn't make sense either. So
they have one of these in, I think, most every Superman issue so far.
I guess I hadn't noticed before.
Some of them, I think they've used the same one a couple times. I think this one's new. I don't know if it's considered a pinup.
Maybe just art and just so then we get into this is the first story in the 12th issue of Superman. The first of 4, I believe, is how many Superman stories are in this issue. Now, having said that, I don't know. I haven't looked at the Grand Comics database to see if there are any other stories in Superman's book, which would be kind of odd, but usually they keep to him in his book. And there are other stories in like World's Finest or, some of the true anthology books, although the Superman book is an anthology book too. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but it's according to the Mike's Amazing World, the only 4 stories in this issue are Superman stories. Okay. So it's a Superman anthology book. So.
All right, so the splash panel is Superman. I guess he is descending onto the scene of Lois, who looks like she's been tied to a stake. I suppose she's going to be burned at the stake, or she's going to be offered as offering a la King Kong. I don't know. It was surrounded by several indigenous people here with the darker colored skin, feather or maybe plant headdresses. This is the international symbol for headdress. For those of you that can see, I'll come over here.
Yep.
As opposed to this, which is a scene that the Rascals use as a wrestling group. They do this. Anyway, and teeth, mammal teeth. They look like shark teeth to me, but I doubt they're shark. They're probably intended to be some sort of mammal with claws, and those are the claws maybe rather than the teeth. But all very making them look less than contemporary society. Less than, I mean, as far as advancement, not personal, sociological, or anything like that. When Lois Lane and Clark Kent, this is the narrator telling us, this is the narration box that comes with the splash panel on every story, which usually they're good, sometimes they're not, sometimes they're kind of lame, but usually they're good because when I read this, I hear it in a radio announcer's voice, the dude standing at the microphone with one hand over his ear, so that I don't know, so that he doesn't get stereo. I don't know why they cover one ear. But, when Lois Lane and Clark Kent set out upon a vacation, it appears that the customary excitement and adventure which persists in intruding upon a reporter's life are left behind. But before they realize it, they're in the midst of another thrill-packed experience made all the more dramatic by the timely appearance of the amazing Man of Steel, Superman. And Superman is bold. So then we go to the actual beginning of our story here. Lois and Clark are at the planet with, this is Perry now. He has forever become Perry White. Perry is telling them, you two have been plugging away steadily for months. And I don't know, as far as we've been reading, it would probably be longer than that. It would have to be, but, and doing a swell job. So here is a token of the newspaper's appreciation are 2 tickets for a vacation cruise on the Grenadier. A vacation, Clark says. Well, that's grand of you, says Lois. So immediately we cut from that. The next panel, as you can see here in the bottom right, is a panel of a lady falling into the ocean off of a boat with a girl falling into the sea. Someone is looking, and I guess we're to assume that that's Clark because he has a blue suit on like he did here when he was talking to Perry.
When I read this morning, I got to that panel, and immediately before reading any text, I just went, Jesus, they're not on the boat for 20 minutes and Lois is already fallen over. I just assumed it was Lois.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're really moving that story along. They're like, come on, we're already on the first page. We got to get this going. It's like, wow. Very tumultuous ocean, too, here I noticed.
Oh, yeah, look at them frickin' waves.
Yeah, on the side of the boat. Now, maybe I could see it like that out in front, but on the side.
Yeah.
Anyways, so page turn, and we see the gentleman that was watching or that saw the woman fall just jumped in after her. Instantly, Clark dives after her, we see. So that was Clark. The next panel I thought was kind of good. Underwater, Clark and the woman, and I like the way that it was set up and everything. It really made the point of what they were trying to say, I thought. So then they surface, and in the interim, Clark was the only one that knew that the woman had fallen, and he was the only one that had known he had fallen. So now these 2 people are in the ocean. Nobody else on the boat knows. The boat just keeps on chugging away, going to wherever it's going, leaving them here. So not too much of a problem for Clark, right? Because as we know, he can kind of make up time with some swifty movements there. So he scoops her up and he takes off swimming towards the boat. Well, just about the time they get to the boat, maybe a little bit before, she wakes up. So I would assume that means he can't Superman like he had been doing. He's got to kind of chill. So he tells her to yell. Yeah, he tells her to shout for help. I don't know if that means he's not shouting for help.
Right.
Or if it's
That's what I assumed.
You shout. It's like, well, why can't you? And anyways.
I rescued you. I shouldn't have to shout.
Yeah, exactly. I did enough. Yeah. This is up to you.
My part's done.
So they throw a lifesaver, pull them up. They send both of them, or not send, but I mean, they escort both to their appropriate rooms so that they can recover, dry off, cool off, warm up, whatever. No real indication, I don't think, Vacation Cruise of the Grenadier, we don't really know what the aspect of the ocean is. So they could have fallen in warm waters, they could have fallen in ice-cold water, as you would, a cruise to Alaska or Norway. I mean, we don't know. So at the very least, they're cold, or they could be, what is it, when you get too cold too fast?
Hypothermia?
Yeah, they could be hypothermic, although it doesn't say anything is wrong. They don't see a doctor at all that we know of.
No, but it's funny that the guys, the dudes that are working there on the ship, the sailors, couldn't think of the name sailors for some reason. The sailors instantly take the girl to her stateroom. Okay, what about Clark? They're just gonna screw the man. He's a man. He can whatever on his own. Yeah. But we have to take care of her, so we have to not escort her. We have to take her to her stateroom. Yeah. Lois comes rushing up after he's cleaned up and everything, because he doesn't look like he's dripping wet. With a giant hat on.
Yes, and it stays on as she's running up to him, too. I don't know how she's got that pinned, but just think, Clark, you're a hero. And he's doing the Rodney Dangerfield tie here, and he says, don't tell anybody, but I fell after accidentally. That was a very bad impression.
It wasn't
sorry.
bad. That wasn't bad. I literally shook my head and laughed when I read that panel, because the moment she is saying you're a hero, I'm like, oh, I wonder how, Clark, is he going to be like, oh yeah, but no, he has to, oh, well, I accidentally fell into.
Yeah, he's got to disarm it. Clark. It's like, no, I can't be a hero. No. Okay. So at this point, Lois and Clark, as a couple, are introduced, finally, to Nan Wilson, who is the woman that fell, she is the primary protagonist, I guess, of the story. I would almost want to say that she is our point of view character, but maybe because we have a omnipresent narrator, or whatever the appropriate word for that, maybe it's the narrator's point of view, really, since we see everybody. But she is the focus. The story occurs because of her,
right?
Basically, not once they get on the ship, Lois and Clark, that's separate. But once they are on the ship for the rest of the story, Nan is the driving force in one way or another of the story. And she has a dude, it's her fiance, Niles Grant, which soon as I saw the word Niles Grant, I was like, oh, bad guy. Don't ask me why, Not that Nan Wilson is the most innocent kind of name. I was like, second. But no, Niles Grant, that's the bad guy. I'll watch and see what he does. And I'll spoil it for you now. He's not the bad guy. And I can't explain. Again, these things just pop into my head, and I can't always explain why. But any thought that I get like that is based on years and years of pop culture consumption that I have. So somewhere, for some reason over the years, the name Niles Grant has gotten to be something that sounds like he would be the bad guy.
Yep.
I don't know. Plus, too, he's introduced very early in the story. A lot of times that is what happens, so.
The Superman Super Show will return after these messages.
Hey there, comic fans and children of the 80s. My name is Steeven, and I would like to invite you to join me on another G.I. Joe podcast. If you grew up yelling, "Yo, Joe!" or flipping through dog-eared issues of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, this is the show for you. Each episode, we're tackling one issue of the classic Marvel comic series, starting all the way back in 1982. We'll break down the stories, the artwork, the characters, the wild twists, the covert missions, everything that made this series one of the most surprisingly rich comic runs of the decade. We'll follow the rise of Snake Eyes, the schemes of Cobra Commander, the battles, the vehicles, the ninjas, the chaos, and the totally over-the-top, totally awesome storytelling that defined 80s action. Whether you're reliving your childhood or discovering these comics for the first time, I'm here to guide you through it all with excitement, insight, and plenty of nostalgia. So grab your gear and join the team, because the mission begins now. Yo, Joe!
In a world where there's often 60 plus years of history to worry about, how can you quickly get into a new comic character or franchise? If you're like me, then you turn to video games. But how well does that work out? In some cases, pretty well. In others, it's a giant disaster. But how can you know which games will set you on the right path and which games will just leave you more confused than you were before? Play Comics is the show for you. I'm Chris, and each episode we take a look at video games based on comic properties and how well they stick to that source material. So listen in and get the scoop on which games are worth your time over at playcomics.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
And now, back to the Superman Super Show.
I've always read that if you're writing a mystery, an actual mystery, like a murder mystery, your murderer should appear in the first chapter.
Okay. And I guess maybe the concept is to try to give your reader the opportunity to solve the crime also.
Yeah. Yep.
So they can watch. They have to be able to watch them as much as possible in order to get the bits to put it together. She's grateful, thanking him. Not too much. I mean, it goes on that they are spending time together here on the cruise ship, and they're playing shuffleboard. I guess that's what you do. I don't even know if on a modern cruise ship if that's available, but
I think it is.
Is it still? Okay.
I think so.
I played it in college as part of my PE class that I had to take for my degree. So yeah. Now at one point, they're laying out, and they're laying out fully clothed too. They're not sunbathing because the sun can't get to any part of their body here, basically. So it's they're just laying out. Lois says, you're stopping off at an island you've inherited? Is that the first time? Yeah, that's pretty much the first time that came out. So they've just been talking, and Nan has thrown that out somewhere. She responds, yes, Pogo Island. I inherited it years ago, but this will be my first visit to it. And then Niles interjects, I tried to talk Nan out of this visit, but she has her mind set on it. See, doesn't that sound like a bad guy? I mean, really.
Yeah, why would, yeah. I think it's supposed to obviously come across as he's being the voice of reason. But yeah, it sounds like he doesn't want her to go to that island for some reason.
Why don't you? And so, at this point, I'm thinking, did you push her off the boat to keep her from getting to the island?
Speaking of which, if we back up just to that second panel, where she tells Clark that, he asks her, how did she find herself in the water? There came a swift full blow from behind. Next thing I knew, I was revived in the water. So is anybody on the ship doing anything about that? Is there an investigation?
Did she tell anybody, though? Maybe she didn't tell anybody.
Maybe this is the first time she's mentioned it.
Right. Thinking about it on her own, she realizes, hey, that kind of thing. Because like she said, from that instance until she revived bobbing up and down in the water with Clark, she doesn't remember anything. So, maybe it took her a while to get back to that point.
Yeah. And of course, I'm nitpicking. I think if they're adding an investigation would just muddy this up so much.
Yeah. Not that we need it to further this story, but it would just...
Yeah.
Nan continues, I've just learned that it would be possible for you to stay on the island with us while the Grenadier discharges her cargo at a nearby port. So, basically, Nan and Niles are using the cruise ship kind of like a taxi to get to a point, but it's not anything official. It's not an official stop of the cruise ship like a particular island in the Caribbean would be for a cruise today. But because the cruise ship's going to go over here and do something, and I would assume come back by, well, yeah, you can get off on the island and wait for us to do the rest of our stuff, and then on our way back, we'll swing by and pick you up. That's not a problem. So there's the invite. We'd love it, Lois says. Next panel, they are on the island. They're introduced to Carl Bogart. Maybe he's the bad guy. Just something, pulling the name Bogart. I mean, it's like, okay. So
that's not like somebody. That Bogart. I mean, that would be like somebody today using. I don't know. I can't think of any last names of movie star Pitt.
Depp. This is Brian Depp.
Yeah.
And I did notice that he's kind of dressed like the explorers of the time in the jungles. He's got khakis on. He's got a light-colored shirt. I've seen both short and long sleeve. He's got a short sleeve shirt. Now, he doesn't have a hat. He's fairly clean cut, except it looks like he's got a goatee.
Yeah.
Which is a little different for men nowadays. Niles is clean-shaven.
Yep.
And, of course, Superman is clean-shaven. We've all seen those stories of how difficult it is for him to shave, but he does it. Meet Carl Bogart, foreman of my plantation. So, not only does she own the island, she owns a plantation on the island. Hence, the next panel, as the native carriers sight Nan, they drop their burdens and flee in terror. So, indigenous porters who live on the island, but because they see Nan, they run away and they quit porting or portaging or whatever the word would be. Yelling, Inga, Inga, not Swedish. This is some kind of indigenous language word, which we don't know what it means. Bogart tells us we don't know what it means at this point. Bogart tells us it's hard to guess what those superstitious natives are up to. I'm sure he spent enough time on the island to know what that word means, but he's not. Yeah.
Well, and already I'm like, oh, this is going to be problematic. Here's an island owned by white people. There's a plantation on it.
It's
that they have the people of color working on.
It is in ways unfortunate to a point.
Yeah.
But fortunately, they didn't push that point or go over that point.
Right.
So
yeah.
It could have been much, much worse.
Yes.
Depiction, story elements, in several different avenues.
Yeah, I think the worst they get is the next page. I think Bogart mentions thrashing the servants or something like that. But that's the worst it really gets.
This type, everything I think they've shown, it's not the kind of thing that at this point in society, this point as Steeven and I exist, that it's necessarily something to apologize for, but it is definitely the nature of things at the time.
Yeah, big bunch of white people reading this at the time would not, they wouldn't, there's nothing wrong with this.
An eye. And and even now saying outright that there's something wrong with it, that's a bit of a stretch. Only white people would have had the money at the time to own an island. Okay. On that island, what am I going to do with it? Well, let's grow something. Okay. After that point, how you do it and what you call it and who you use to farm your farm and things like that, that is where societal differences start coming into play. Calling it a plantation, that evokes a certain mind's eye concept.
Yeah.
The fact that you're using, now I can understand, you're using indigenous people rather than shipping in workers, which would just increase your costs. So if you can, you're going to use people who already live there. You're going to probably pay them nothing because they don't know any better. At this point, I don't know that the people living on this island have any need for money.
Yeah.
They probably have no way to spend money. So, let's somehow get them to work for us. And, problematic, yes, but again, not. And
I would have to assume they're being paid somehow. I only assume that is, my only assumption just comes from the fact that they refer to them as servants and not slaves, right?
Right, yeah. Although, I mean, I guess it's possible that servants aren't paid anything just to be called servants.
Sure, yeah.
I would suggest maybe in my mind that the difference between a servant and a slave is more how they're treated rather than their circumstance. So,
yeah, sure.
As a small party makes its way toward the plantation house, Nan asks Bogart, how are the plantation's business affairs? And Bogart says, not very good. I'm afraid it seems to be a losing proposition. And Niles interjects yet again. That's what I tried to tell Nan, but she wouldn't believe. He's not very supportive as a fiancé. I don't know. I guess maybe he doesn't want to be overdone by this female. Maybe that's the issues that he's having. They go into the plantation house, which the plantation house, as far as I understand, is the main house. That's where the owners of the plantation live and stay and what have you.
Right.
So somehow in the main house, a thing has been left, a native token, they call it. Bogart says, perhaps it's a gift for you. And it's something, I guess, to me, it looks like it's hanging on the window.
Yeah, it's weird.
And I wonder how they got it stuck to the window. Did they drive a nail to? Yeah, no, never mind. I'm not sure, but she's starting to reach for it. Oh, how thoughtful of them. I'll keep it as a souvenir. But Clark eyeballs it and he sees, it's got poison on it. I don't know. And so he moves around faster than the human eye can follow. And we get these marvelous speed lines and a substantial blurring of his body, but not complete, as he's rushing around. And so he rushes up and he gets this token and he rips the figure from the door. That doesn't look like a door. And hurls it away and then returns to his position. So he does the flash thing where he sees something he's got to do and he runs and does it and then comes back like nothing happened. And for everybody watching, this thing that was stuck to the wall is there as Nana's reaching for it. And then all of a sudden it disappears and she is reaching for nothing. And that's what she says.
Yeah, they just accept it.
Yeah, it just disappeared. It
must be some sort of magic.
That's part of the whole native experience thing. The natives did it.
Yeah.
And the natives giveth and the natives taketh away.
Right.
I guess that's, I don't know. But it was there a moment ago. Perhaps it's some sort of native magic. That's courtesy of Mr. Bogart. And Kent is thinking, that was close for Nan. That was a close call for Nan.
Silly.
Later on, at some point, they noticed that none of the accessory people are the servants, are there to see to their needs. I'm sure Nan must have wanted something and there was no one to give that to have it done. And she's like, oh, where are the servants? And Bogart tells her, blast those ignorant savages. Come with me. I'm going to their village and thrash this matter out. I don't know why he wants her to come with him. If he's going to get physical, you would think that big manny man is going to, I'll go do that myself.
Yeah.
You wait here, frail woman. I'll fix this. Yeah. So
I mean, we know why he wants her to go, but
now we do.
At the outset, you're like, was he just trying to prove he wants you to see my manliness by coming with me while I beat up a bunch of primitive, smaller indigenous
people? Yeah. Later, when they reach the village, let's see, follow this now. Niles says the natives are chanting. Clark says, well, what does it mean? Bogart says they're praying for protection from evil spirits. The angry plantation foreman interrupts the ceremony. Stop this nonsense and get back to work. And the natives cry out, as they did initially when they saw Nan, Inga, 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 I-N-G-A, Inga, all in caps, exclamation point. What in the world does Inga mean, and why do they act so frightened of me? Nan finally asks. Well, now Bogart does know, and he shares his knowledge. Inga means witch. They say their witch doctor has informed them you are an occult creature. So now to misdirect from all this, at that moment, a terrified youngster accidentally falls into the fire. I don't know why that would happen, but now this next panel is among probably the worst drawn panel that I recall having seen in a very, very long time. Leaping in, Nan snatches the badly burned boy from the flames. And the image is in the lower left-hand corner here on the screen. Well, for those of you watching, for you listening to the podcast, just ignore that. The image is of Nan walking through the forest kind of towards us. Behind her is Carl Bogart. She is holding the injured, what did they say here? Youngster, the injured youngster. Now, to my eye, this does not look like a youngster. Now, the individual, male or female, I'm going to assume male, right? Does it tell us? It doesn't tell us up here. Is bald. Now, why youngsters are bald already, I don't know.
Well, all of them, they're all bald.
Well, the males could do something to their hair. I mean, that is at the point that they're old enough. I'm sure that's their right if they want to cut their hair, whatever. But this is a young person. Why would they have the need to be like that as well?
No, it does say that it's a boy when she snatches the badly burned boy
here.
from the flames.
The burned boy. Yeah, okay.
But it does look like just a small old man.
Yeah, it looks like a miniature man. It doesn't look like a child that has been drawn here. So it just, racing ahead of the running party, natives surreptitiously plant dynamite. Where are the natives? Okay. I guess they make the dynamite in their huts to use if they need to. I don't know. Alongside the jungle path at the foot of a tree.
Yes. Savan says it does not. It looks like an old shrunken dude. That's creepy. Yes.
It is. It looks wrong. I mean, it's like, wow. She's found some creature almost and she's taking it home with her or something. Yeah. Now, I will say, I do appreciate that Nan, the white woman, saw someone get injured who is not white. And her immediate thought was to scoop them up and help them, not just help them on the spot, but take them back where they could get serious help for what has happened to them. So she is breaking that early 40s, I think, white stereotype.
Yeah, and if you can take that caption literally, she jumped into the fire to grab him up.
To get him out,
Which I immediately thought, okay, we're going to learn that there's something about her, something supernatural about her, and that's why they think she's a witch. But no,
they're
didn't
right.
go that direction at all.
No. They missed that. The writers it never occurred to them.
If she's able to jump into a fire and rescue a kid and jump out without being harmed at all, then maybe
let's
she
run
is a
with
witch.
that. Yeah.
You know?
No. But Clark's telescopic eyesight informs him of this development. Slipping away from the others, he quickly removes his outer garments, and this calls for Superman, he's saying as he's ripping his shirt apart, popping the buttons so that when he goes back, he's not going to be able to wear the shirt.
Right.
He messed it up, but okay. So yeah, the natives have access to dynamite, and they are scared enough of Nan that they're willing to blow the shit out of her to get rid of her. That's pretty frightened. I mean, they're just running around calling her names, Inga, but no, really they're frightened enough that we need to blow her the hell up to get rid of her.
That's what's funny too, is that it's not like they're lighting the dynamite and chucking it at her. They blow up a tree so that it falls on her.
Right, yeah. As she walks by, they'll blow it up at just the right time. It's like...
That's some Acme, Coyote Roadrunner type of bullshit right there.
Yep. Which, doesn't he have a movie coming up about that? Isn't it?
Yeah. Where
Coyote versus Acme or something like that?
He's suing Acme for all the stuff that he's bought that hasn't worked.
That hasn't worked, all the bad
that's
stuff
what it's about,
Yeah. That's what it looks like it's about. I haven't read to see, but yeah. So the next two panels are the indigenous people blowing up the tree and then the tree falling on our people as they pass. Looks like Nan gets through. Looks like probably Niles gets through, but it's going to fall on Lois.
Yeah.
Or thereabouts. But Superman is there. He grabs the tree, holds it up so that it doesn't fall on her. She passes underneath it. Nan tells Superman, I've heard of you and your incredible strength. And then Niles says, but I always thought you were a legendary character. Superman tells him, you'd better hurry back to the plantation. And Bogart is telling him, he's right, run, because, next panel, as the others hurry on, amazed natives step from concealment and bombard the party with poisoned darts. Now, so that's kind of typical of quote-unquote natives in a tropical area, is that they use poisoned darts. Not that they use dynamite. That's not normal.
No,
but poison darts is usually
standard jungle
what
adventure.
They have, as far as weaponry, amongst other things. But yeah, still determined to get them. And there's your favorite. Say it.
Eh?
There it is.
Still determined to get them. Eh?
It's got to be in every story somewhere.
Yeah. But if I could do a decent Canadian accent, that's how those should be read. Just picture Rick Moranis. In strange, I just can't do it.
Or Dave
Thomas. I know that's the founder of Wendy's, but I think his name is Dave Thomas as well.
Maybe so. Yeah, right. He was the brother.
Yeah,
right. They were brothers. Yeah.
Yep. Doug and Bob McKenzie.
Yes, McKenzie. Yeah. Rapidly, Superman snatches the darts from the air as fast as the natives send them. So he doesn't get in the way and block them. No, he's reaching out and he's picking them off like monkeys picking nits off of their fellow monkey. It's that's what I see. Except he's not putting them in his mouth to eat them. He's just picking them.
And what is he? And what's he saying as he's
These ought to make interesting additions to my collection of what? Poison darts? You have a collection of poison darts.
Or he just collects stuff from every adventure. Like Batman.
That people have thrown against him to try to stop him or something like that.
Every time we've seen a gun thrown at him, he just puts it in the pocket. Bill from Long Island says, I also read the A as a 1920s era gangster speak. I do too. I mean, I think that's exactly what it's supposed to be, Still determined to get at them, eh?
Where it pops up is movies and film strips and printed matter of the time. It's You're
not going to get me this time, copper. Hey!
Speaking of that, I actually learned this week that a gun honey is an actual thing. It's a name that's been in a series of comic books for Titan Comics for a while. But I learned this week what a gun honey was. Does anybody listening know what a gun honey is? And this is the middle of gangster stuff. Yeah, George Raft and Edward G. Robinson in particular. That's the voice. Okay, a gun honey. Now, how often have we seen that there are meetings between higher-ups in competing mobs, right? They'll arrange for a meeting with minimal other people other than the decision makers at a neutral site, right? So that they can be assured that nobody interferes. You give over your weapons before you go into whatever it is, and you go alone or with one aide, something like that. Minimal number of people. Well, in that location, whether it be a maid or a restaurant server or the woman that's working the front desk if it's some kind of hotel, typically there is a female involved. Both men will have a female that has been planted in that situation who is packing. In case that leader does need a weapon, she is there with weapon to pass the weapon on to him. She is his gun honey.
Okay.
I was like, that is awesome.
That's neat. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Gun honey. So that's
cool.
And the character in the comic book is a female, but I had never heard it. I didn't know what it meant. It's a comic book. Maybe it was just some cool name they came up with for the comic book. I didn't know. But yeah, that's what in the 20s and 30s a gun honey was. So
Bill from Long Island says, the more you know.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one to grow on.
Okay. So we switch to the plantation house. What's happened to Clark, Lois says. He's gone, says Niles. I'll go after him. He hasn't a chance facing those natives alone, says Bogart as he's rushing toward us. There's the symbols by Sivan. If only you could make it stream in your comment space. He's rushing towards us in the panel, whereas Lois and Niles are standing back. I guess Nan is, I don't know, in another room with the indigenous boy trying to help him, whatever. Atop a hill above the plantation house is the next panel, the last panel on the page, setting up an epic page turn because you see several indigenous peoples pushing a huge boulder towards the edge of a cliff. Below the cliff is, I'm going to assume, the plantation house. So they're about to roll they can't use dynamite, right? They have to roll it in person, and so they're going to roll it off. Superman still out, fighting. He's besieged by multiple men, we'll say, and he's having to fight them off by hand.
But he does. Eh? That's what he's saying. Want to fight, eh?
Yep. There's another A. You're right.
Get two of them.
He does see the boulder as it is falling. He rushes up to. My assumption at the time was he was going to catch the boulder, right, and throw it away or something like that. But he's rushing up to it. Well, for whatever reason, the plan by the indigenous peoples was that they were going to drop two of them. So they had another huge-ass boulder ready to roll over the edge. So they had to have both of them in place. Neither of them looks like the edge of this cliff is where they belong. So they've moved them from somewhere. They had two boulders, and they were ready to go with two because they knew how powerful Superman was. I don't know. All he did was, he caught the tree, and he caught the poison darts as they were.
Well, I feel like, because it would take depending on where the boulders originated from, it'd take a while to get them both up to the top of that cliff. So I feel like maybe as soon as they may have been up there for months, years, as soon as the white people showed up, maybe they started making preparations just in case.
Could be.
And it's like, all right, we got one boulder up there, and somebody's like, let's get two, just in case the first one doesn't work. So
sure.
they get the second one up there, and they've been up there for a while. I just can't imagine, unless they're literally just a couple feet off the panel.
No, because you see it's grassy, and you see trees over here to the side. The boulder is a big-ass rock that had to dislodge from somewhere, and nowhere in this immediate vicinity does it look like a place where it could dislodge from. No. So either it's back a ways, or they actually had to bring it up the mountain to get. Sorry, that is being too picky. It's a tropical island. These are indigenous peoples. There's going to be rocks. Yes. Okay, well, we'll go with that. So one is falling, Superman zooming up to it. They push another right behind it. So now there are two falling at 32 feet per second squared, separated by, 8 or 10 seconds that it took them to push each one up, and they're falling like big projectiles. Superman stops one. He shoulder blocks it and stops it. And while it's stopped, he punches it. but his punch doesn't disintegrate the boulder. His punch sends it going back up like you would, like a shot, like a rifle shot, into the other boulder falling. The two then collide and pulverize, I guess, into bits small enough that they don't damage the house, because otherwise he would have just created, instead of one big, there were multiple semi-big rocks that were falling. So I guess it just pulverized it completely, and it just rained sand down on the manor house, on the plantation house.
The Superman Super Show will return after these messages.
Across the DC multiverse, countless worlds exist in parallel, each with its own history, its own heroes, its own destiny. I'm DC Dave, and this is Infinite Earths, a guide to the DC multiverse, a travel log and field guide to the worlds beyond the familiar. Each episode, we chart a different Earth, exploring its origins, its defining stories, and the cosmic architecture that shaped it. From the earliest multiverse experiments to the mythic forces that rewrote reality itself, every world has a place on the map. The orrery is waiting. Join me. Let's explore.
Step into the savage world of the Hyborian Age and journey through a land of sorcery, steel, and epic adventure with me, Stephen Orr, on Hither Came Conan. Together we'll explore the legendary Conan the Barbarian comic series from Marvel Comics, starting with the groundbreaking first issue from 1970 and working our way through each epic tale, one issue at a time. Along the way, I'll also dive into any other Conan comics I can get my hands on, because when it comes to the titular Cimmerian, there's no such thing as too much adventure. Whether you're a diehard Conan fan or just discovering the greatest barbarian of all time, this podcast is your gateway to the blood-soaked battlefields, treacherous kingdoms, and forgotten treasures of Robert E. Howard's timeless creation. New episodes are packed with action, insights, and a little humor, all dedicated to the world of Conan and the creators who brought him to life on the comic book page. So sharpen your swords and subscribe to Hither Came Conan today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Crom demands it.
Into the boat!
An heroic legacy beginning in 1941 that spans time, space, and the whole of the multiverse. Journey along with the Knights of the Stars. Ted, David, and Jack. They, along with Will Payton, Michael Thomas, Prince Gavin, Tom Kalor, and Courtney Whitmore. They take the mantle of Starman and continue his legacy. I invite you to listen as I journey through these adventures of all these heroes and the rest of the Starman family here on Opal City Confidential, a Starman podcast, coming February 2023. And now, back to the Superman Super Show.
And we can totally use this to nitpick the whole is Superman flying or not flying thing, because obviously if he's just leaping, he's not going to be able to, as it says, Man of Steel and huge boulder meet in a head-on collision. The boulder grinds to a stop. That's only going to be possible if he's not moving either.
Right. If his force equals the boulder and he can stay there. Otherwise, he would have just been pushed back by the boulder. Yeah.
Right.
So we go inside the plantation house. What a man. If it weren't for him, says Niles. Lois, and they're looking out the window, right? He's pulled the curtain aside on one side and Lois has pulled the curtain aside on the other. She says, we'd have been done for. Meanwhile, Nan is completely oblivious to whatever's going on outside. She's helping the young boy that is laid out on the bed, bandages over various parts of his body. There, this won't hurt, she says. Very motherly to him. I'm getting very motherly instincts, not just white woman who can help disadvantaged, terrified by their encounter with the being of tremendous physical powers, the natives retreat in a body. So everybody on top of the mountain runs away, having seen what Superman did. Well, Superman trails them. Never can tell what they'll be up to next as he is flying. He is flying. I mean, look at the way the panel's drawn. He's flying.
Yeah.
It's the middle. And I also will say, I have become a very big fan of the 9-panel grid reading these Superman stories. They're not always 9, like in the top left, that's 2 combined, obviously, but just that is the format. Yeah. Whether you use it or not completely, that is the format. This is a 9-panel grid. I really enjoy the flow of the story through 9 panels.
Yeah, there have been times recently that I've been reading like a book from the 90s and I'm looking at the panel layout and I just go, you're trying too hard to be different.
Right, exactly. Now, there are little things that you can do that are kind of cool. I'm a fan of the overlap for whatever reason of not the panel, but a character into another panel, depending on how you're... But this kind of stuff where, honestly, as long as I have been reading comic books, if I open up a page and I don't understand how to read it, that's not on me.
Yeah.
That's on you. You put in a bad page.
Yep.
It may have made sense to you at the time because you were sitting with one page and you drew one page in a way that seemed cool. And maybe it is. As a one-off, maybe it was cool. But as the story flows, when I look at this and I'm like, okay, I know to start here and I know to end here, but I don't get how to get there because that's, and actually I run into that a lot in manga.
Yeah.
I don't know, trying to be edgy. I don't know why they do it as much as they do in manga, but I do run into it in American comics a lot more in the, non-Big 2 books where people can just do whatever they want to, and sometimes what they want to do just doesn't work out right.
There's not like a seasoned editor going,
an editor,
that's not
to
going to work.
This didn't make sense. We need to, So Superman is following them, zooming to wherever they are. We see a native village here. The natives chatter excitedly. I'm not a fan of the word chatter. There by the narrator tells us. Now, apparently, either we can suddenly understand the indigenous people or the indigenous people have been able to speak English the whole time because they're speaking English here. And we don't have brackets. We don't have anything to tell us. Just
the way they're speaking English makes me feel like they're speaking English.
Okay.
Which seems weird that they would be speaking English to each other in these choppy sentences.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Spirit, powerful, bad medicine. Better leave white ones alone. We are helpless against their magic. That's the best formed sentence of the 3. Superman's up in a tree. As long as they stick to that attitude, we're safe. I like how his cape is over the branch.
Yes.
And it's drawn like it's over the branch that is behind him. Yeah, I like that.
That's Leo Nowak.
But abruptly, a witch doctor in weird headdress. He's wearing almost like a demon or some kind of dark creature skull, if it's not a demon, for whatever these people believe.
Yeah.
Springs before the other natives, berates them. Fight the evil ones. Witch doctor's medicine more powerful than theirs. And he's handing over some things. But they have a terrible demon aiding them. If we attack, it will slay us. And there's a necklace in one hand and a something else in the other, a little tchotchke of some sort. Wear these charms. They will protect you from harm. Fight the foreign ones. Wipe them out. Now, it would have been much cooler if these 2 things were green in color, but they're not. So, minutes later, the natives charging again. Lois and Niles notice from inside the plantation house.
So that's 2 panels. The first panel and the second panel, where one of those 2 start a sentence and the other one finishes it. Niles and Lois they're connected.
They've been spending a lot of time together over the past however many days, weeks, 20 minutes. They've only been in the house for half an hour, man. Yeah. So now the indigenous people have decided, well, since we can't crush the house with falling boulders, we will burn them out. So they're lighting the fields and the surrounding area leading up to the manor house, the plantation house, on fire. A powerful breeze fans the flames so that they sweep hungrily towards the structure. And of course, if you've ever seen, what is the word? Tropical. There it is. Tropical islands on any movie, TV show. There's always a breeze. Apparently, I don't know if it's true. It could be true. I don't know. But yeah. So the fact that they're on the tropical island, the breeze from the ocean inland, and it's pushing the flames toward them. Superman must act quickly before the flames reach the house. Grabs up a big tree, and I was wondering. I thought maybe he was going to like beat the flames out like you would with a towel or something like that. But he grabs up a big tree, and then he flies, dragging the tree, cutting a big furrow in the ground. A fire break, I guess, is what that is intended to be. I thought a fire break is more where you clear the vegetation rather than do something in the dirt. But it's been years since I fought fire. Yeah. No, I've never fought fire, so I don't know. Races about the plantation at a great speed, using the great tree as a plow, furrowing a ditch. So now, if he has gone all the way around the plantation house, they could fill that with water and have an actual moat.
Yep.
Now, that would add, I don't know, $50,000 to the resale of the house just by adding a moat.
Heck yeah.
So, and I said that kind of dryly for anyone listening. That was kind of a joke. I watch a lot of home reno shows. Anyways. So, bathroom, kitchen, moat. Those are the three biggies that will raise the value of a house. His task completed, the man of tomorrow surveys his handiwork with satisfaction. That did it. The flames can't cross the ditch. Well, they're not done because curb appeal, says Bill from the moat. Yes. Particularly nowadays, because it'll keep MFers away from my house. I don't have to worry about them getting on my lawn and bitching about that because they are on the other side of the moat.
That's right.
I pay extra for a moat.
Yes, Savon.
Okay. Yeah. Natives crash in through the rear of the house and quickly overcome its occupants. So, I'm wondering if setting the fire was a distraction for Superman, and that's what they intended, and they were going to circle around the whole time.
Yeah, I think it was.
They break inside. They kidnap. They kidnap everybody, but they kidnap Nan, and they club Niles and knock him out. In a panel, we see Lois in the background also. But the next panel, Niles is walking with a leash. I didn't really know he was into that, but I'm not going to kink shame anybody. Just read Golden Age Wonder Woman.
Don't worry about it, fellas. I brought my own.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, here, let me put that on. And we can't see his eye. He might have like spiky kind of on his gauntlets on it. Yeah, we don't know. So the indigenous folks have captured the white people from the plantation house, and they're marching them to presumably their village, their home territory, away from the white home territory to their home territory.
Yeah.
And one of them is carrying the injured boy we see back here in the background. Superman has seen what happened, and he has followed, gets to them just in time to see Lois and the others tied to stakes, kind of reminiscent of the splash panel that we saw to start the story.
Yeah.
Lois tied to a stake. Now, it was just her by herself. Here, there are three people total. Amidst the beating of drums, the witch doctor springs into view. Death to the evil ones, death at the stake, death, as he's dancing around and they're playing drums. The mother of the child is checking the child over. She's holding it. She wasn't the one. Yeah, probably not. She wasn't the one carrying it, but whoever carried it turned the child over to its mother. They not hurt my child. Look, they dress his wounds. And another gentleman there says, since they not harm child, maybe they are not evil spirits. And a third says, perhaps we should free them. But the witch doctor has none of this. While they're discussing this, he has already taken a stick from the fire and he is lighting the tinder beneath the feet of the three people. So they are not just staked, tied to stakes, but they're going to be burned at the stake is at least the witch doctor's intent. If not, that's what he convinced the village to do. We don't necessarily know. Superman says, and that's my cue to enter. tying them up and everything, packing the wood around them, and that's okay. But you come at them with a fire stick, and that's like, no, that's too far. Somebody yells out, the powerful one. So he zooms down and he unties, of course, Lois first. That's his honey. The witch doctor is the indigenous peoples, when they see Superman come down out of the sky, they run away because he is a great god, or however at this point they're viewing him. They know they can't stop him. They've tried all these different things. I'm going to, beat feet and get out of here. And the witch doctor's like, no, wait, we can still beat him. Niles tells Superman the witch doctor seems to be having some trouble with his followers. I'm sure Superman can hear everything going on. But abruptly, out of nowhere, uniformed soldiers charge into the scene. No real designation as to what they are, but because of the way they're drawn, I would have to say that they are German army, that they're Nazis. There's not a thing on them that indicates that, which is so very unfortunate and purposefully done, and I would love to know why they didn't. I've talked about this one or two times before. With what is going on, what is the holdup of making the Nazis your bad guys?
Well, and I it's on the next page or the page after, but they explain who these soldiers are in just such a weird, clunky way that it would have made much more sense. Maybe this is just hindsight. Maybe people at the time, it wouldn't have made sense for it to be not. I don't know.
Maybe.
But to me, it just feels like if they just would have said Nazis, you would have been like, oh, okay.
Now in the Pacific, if that's where they were, it could have been Japanese submarines.
Yep.
But
exactly.
The people, unfortunately, however you want to put it, I don't believe the soldiers are drawn as if they would be Japanese.
No.
So
not the way they would have done it back then.
No. So I don't think they're Japanese. They look like they have, shall we say, Nordic coloring as far as skin tone. So I would assume that these are implied Nazis. In my mind, when I read it, Nazis is who I figured this was. Superman leaps off. I don't know where these soldiers are from, but their presence makes it unnecessary for me to remain.
That's a weird panel by itself, because the way you read comics, of course, his word balloon would come before the soldier's word balloon. So we don't see any soldiers in the panel previous.
Right.
Immediately we go to him talking about these soldiers that are just appearing in the same panel.
So it happened behind his back, I guess.
guess.
So he sees that the natives have all run away, so he doesn't need to be there. And while he is leaping away, the soldiers show up, and he doesn't hear any of that going on because they're speaking. The Niles and Nan are speaking. So, I mean, there's a lot of sound going on. He doesn't hear any of it. Or no, I see what happened here. How fortunate that you came when you did. We're very grateful to you. Superman thought the soldiers were good guys.
Yes.
So that's okay, because so do they. And then they say, Savior, thanks, you're under arrest, all of you. So immediately you're like, well, why are you arresting them? What did they do?
Yeah. This was about the point where I just kind of threw my hands in the air. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Where did the soldiers come from? Yeah.
This is too much.
Under arrest, but what does this mean? We're not required to offer an explanation. Come with us. You come along too, as the soldier grabs the witch doctor. So that kind of makes you think, well, it's two separate things. The witch doctor and the natives are one thing, and now these soldiers are another thing, storyline. Small group marches into a cave at the ocean's edge. Soldiers on the island. Do you know the explanation? Lois says. Nan, my island yet, I do not know more about it than you do. Superman flying in flight. I can't understand this strange development, but perhaps I'll soon know the answer. So I guess he noticed something was going on and he turned around and followed wherever the soldiers took him. Because the soldiers took them deep within a cave, we're told. And in this cave is a waterway, and in the water sits a submarine. So at this point, even if you hadn't come up with who these soldiers are intended to be, I believe there's only two powers at the time that this could have been, and that would be either Germany or the Japanese. It's not an American sub, and I think that's pretty easy to say. Now, there might have been, a handful of countries also that had some subs, but I don't know that people necessarily would have known about that widespread. So in the early 40s, the Japanese and the Germans and us, that's pretty much it. A submarine here beneath the cave. Can you beat it? That's kind of, And all of a sudden you hear in your mind, as somebody goes moonwalking backwards. Okay, yeah, sorry. Bad joke. I get it now, Lois says. This is a secret refueling base for submarines belonging to a foreign nation which prey on merchant marines in these neutral waters. That's about as ambiguous as you could be about who these are. It's like, okay. You've struck upon it, but they won't let us see this and live, says Niles. Nan says, perhaps Bogart will be able to help us. Yeah, perhaps he will, because Bogart comes up and says, you can forget that, Hope, as he takes his witch doctor mask off, and he has been the witch doctor all this time, inciting the indigenous peoples to crush the white man that is in their midst. So what have you done? Killed him? Because he hasn't taken the mask off yet, but he's speaking. Then he takes the mask off and he says, because I am Bogart. I often found assuming the identity of native witch doctor to be helpful and effective. But why, says Nan? As you have assumed, this is a secret refueling base for a country at war. I am in that country's pay. It was my job to keep people off this island, and I had the soldiers step in only when the interference of Superman made it necessary. Okay. He's a, what do they call it? Fifth column? Is that what they were calling the German agitators over in the U.S., the fifth column?
I know it's column. I think fifth column's right.
Fifth column. He continues, you may be interested to learn that it was I who arranged for that attack on Ms. Wilson's life aboard the Grenadier. So there is the shove she felt. It was I, too, who stirred up the natives with the rumor that she was a witch. Well, as the witch doctor. Yeah, okay. Why you, says Niles, as he's about to punch him. I wouldn't try anything, says one of the soldiers, pulling a firearm on him. Superman, outside the cave, or maybe hiding just inside the cave.
Savon says, dum, dum, dum.
Yeah, there it is. It's all coming to a head right now. It is the literature, what's the fancy word? Denouement? Is that the word?
Yeah.
Denouncement? No, it's pronounced denouement.
Yes.
Because it's French. Their words always look weird.
We don't allow that kind of language around here.
Denouement.
Excuse my French.
Yeah. We got to quit. We're offending like a whole nation here. Okay. And more, whoever's French and
I tell you, if you really want to hear some jokes against French people, watch The Blackadder. Seasons 2 through 4.
Sure.
Good. The
English characters putting down the French. Yeah.
Yes.
My X-ray vision has disclosed enough now to act. So Superman jumps in. The soldiers find out that the bullets don't do any good, but they don't have a chance to get away because he's got he's got two of them grabbed by the ankles, and he's swinging them around like those big Middle Eastern clubs that those men twirl, a sign of strength.
I'm just imagining him wading into a large group of soldiers, swinging
shoulders. Yeah. Savon tells us she recommends watch Blackadder regardless of anything.
It's good stuff. If you ever want to just practice the art of sarcasm from the master, it's going to be Blackadder, especially seasons 2 through 4.
And the actor, that's the Mr. Bean dude, right?
Yes, Rowan Atkinson.
Mm-hmm.
So good. I'm going to go watch some, I think, after
before Mr. Bean, I think, right? Mr. Bean was a later character?
Yes. Yep.
Superman forcing his way into the cave, says one of the soldiers. So even in Germany, they know about Superman. Go figure. His own mobsters in Metropolis don't know about Superman. German soldiers from Germany know about Superman. I don't know.
Wouldn't they call him the Ubermensch?
Ubermensch, yeah. We've got to get out of here. But that would give away that they were Germans.
That's
so they
true.
Can't. They can't do that. We've got to get out of here into the submarine, quick. And then Superman notices, which this is pretty profound. This has got to be a special sub to dive down and get away that quick. But drops below the surface. Bogart is checking him out with a periscope. Ha, we've eluded him. And Lois says, I can tell that you don't know Superman.
That's good. I like that.
He done tugged on Superman's cape.
That's right.
In essence, is what happened here. So Superman jumps in the water. Guess I'll have to go fishing, he says, and he's swimming along. The submarine is well in front of him, and he's having to catch up to the submarine. So whatever kind of sub this is like a marvelous machine for the time, because it submerged, got underway in like just a heartbeat. So it's like, maybe it's like Captain Nemo's kind of sub or something like that, you know. Instruments indicate something approaching, says Bogart. It must be Superman. Fire! And they launch, I guess, torpedo. Yeah, it tells us torpedo. Wham! Man of Steel and torpedo collide, much like the boulder, except the boulder didn't blow up. The torpedo blows up. Now, I have questions that the torpedo would actually have blown up, but I won't go into that. Superman is unharmed. Minutes later, he marches up on land holding the sub overhead. So he caught it, and he perp walked the submarine onto the island.
That might be my favorite panel. Just Superman carrying a submarine over his head, walking out of the ocean. That's great.
If they keep that up, I'll begin to believe they don't like me, he says. So now he rips open, right? Is that what it says? He rips open the submarine, drags the soldiers out. Be careful, there are a dozen of them, Lois says. And he's like, only a dozen? So, and he makes some sound. I'm not sure how you would say that.
I think he's going to.
Yeah, something. One of those offhand sounds. Superman springs away, leaving his foes helplessly tied. Later, he returns as Clark Kent. Is it safe for me to come out of hiding now? Lois says, perfectly safe now that the excitement's over. And Niles tells him, we'll have to radio the authorities. A day later, as Clark and Lois once again board the Grenadier, thanks a lot for your hospitality. We had a thrilling time and got a swell story, Lois says. Nan says, we promise not to have any international plotters disturb your rest next time. And I guess Niles says, please come again next time. I'm not sure who that's with. And that's the end of the story.
Terrible, terrible, terrible ending.
I'm
really disappointed with the whole. I mean, Lois just accepts that Clark had been hiding that entire. They all just accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, but for Lois, for them to be on a tropical island, for Clark to suddenly disappear as Superman appears on a tropical island, and then when Superman's done, Clark. I get it that we're supposed to suspend our disbelief, but I think this is one of the worst examples.
But yeah, they're not helping us by doing that. They're just saying, just pretend that he's not.
Exactly. They're not even trying. I mean, they tried just enough to give us a reason why Clark was gone, but they might as well have just went like, oh, well, Clark was there the whole time. You just didn't see him. It would have meant the same thing,
Yeah, something.
So
I don't know.
And then these, the whole Nan, we promise not to have any international plotters disturb your rest next time, only for Niles to immediately go, please come again next time. That bothers me for some reason.
You certainly didn't need that.
No.
No. And it's kind of a ha-ha, she says, promise not to have any international it's like, okay, there's the joke. Just cut it there.
Exactly. If they would have left that last one off, it would have been the, disturb your rest next time. Ha ha! And then freeze. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to reading the other three stories in this, because typically the way things have been kind of going for us, the Superman stories in the Superman title have been our favorites.
Mm-hmm.
They've been some of the best. So hopefully we started low and we're going to just go up for the rest of the issue.
Yeah. But different, at least finally something different. There for a long time, we have been in Metropolis fighting mobsters. Yep. Whatever the mobsters are coming up with, whatever. And for this long, we are, let's see, when did this come out? 41? Yeah, 1941. So we've been at it a good, how long? 2 years? 39?
3 years.
Okay.
Well, yeah, with Action Comics, it would be 3 years.
And we're still, there's seemingly a world-affecting war, if it's not decidedly a world war yet, but that you could use, get out of the country. They even haven't really used spies from other countries too often. It's mobsters and homegrown bad guys and thugs, and I'm like, come on, get past that stuff. Dude is from another planet. You've established people live on other planets.
Yeah, and I know, I think we talked about this one of the last few episodes. There was a Superman biography. It's not the right word, but a book about Superman that I was reading. And the author basically suggests that the idea here at this point is that instead of a regular hero, a regular non-powered guy going up against weird, crazy aliens and junk like you would see in John Carter from Mars or stuff like that, this is a weird, crazy alien type good guy going up against street level, they flipped it basically for Superman, which that may be the case, but yeah, it's getting old real quick.
Particularly when in these other books that are coming out now, you're getting that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just, and again, I understand that part of that is because I have seen after what Superman has done and where he's been, I've seen a lot more of the potential used than I guess I'm seeing the potential used here. I think there's a lot of potential that is just being left on the counter. I mean, they're just not seemingly using it. And the stories are still entertaining, but it's starting to get a bit frustrating. He is Superman. You call him Superman. Don't put him up against rhinos and giant snakes. He's Superman. He's not, he's not the circus strongman or something, just use it. Come on.
All right. Anything else you want to say about this episode or this issue?
No, sir.
On our next episode, Superman meets a foe worthy of his mettle when he matches wits with a super criminal who will go to any lengths to commit his evil deeds. That's coming up on episode 99 when Ed and I take a look at the Suicide Murders, the second of the 4 Superman tales that appeared in Superman number 12, published by DC Comics in July of 1941. So until then, folks, I'm Steven, that's Ed, and this was the Superman Super Show. Thanks for listening. Bye!
Ciao.
We want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Superman Super Show. Questions and comments can be directed to thesupermansupershow@gmail.com. If you enjoyed the show, you can help to boost our presence online by leaving a rating or review on your favorite podcast app. The Superman Super Show is a presentation of Steven or Else Media. For more nerdy content just like this, check out SoManyPodcasts.com or use the link in your show notes. Superman is a registered trademark of DC Comics and was created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Action Comics magazine.
Superman's bad. I mean, he was bad.